everybody, I'm Nadine Hughes, and welcome to the June edition of A Balanced Kitchen. And this month's question has to do with eating outside, and being June and being beautiful, it's perfect timing. So thank you, Shoshana, for sending in this question. Shoshana asks, Dear Nadine, with the warm weather coming, I'd love to be able to eat outside and enjoy picnics with families and friends more often, but I'm always worried about keeping my food cold and having the food safe to eat for everybody. Could you please give me some tips on how to pack a picnic properly? Well, absolutely. I do a lot of my own entertaining outside in the summertime as well, and I also cater a lot of functions outside. And keeping your food cold, that should be cold, and hot, that should be hot, is a really important thing, obviously, to keep in mind, but never more so important than when you've got these hot summer days and sun beating down on your food and insects and all that other stuff that you have to deal with. But let's talk about just packing your average picnic. There are some great ideas that you might already know about or refresh your memory to try to keep your picnics fun and easy for you as well. So the first thing that you want to do is when you're packing for a picnic, you want to make sure that you pack all the cold stuff just before you're about to leave to go on to your picnic. And often what I'll do is, because I know sometimes it's crazy, you know, you're trying to especially get kids out the door and did you remember the picnic blanket and all that sort of stuff, is that I will pack my coolers, particularly if they're small coolers like this cooler here, and we'll talk a little bit more about different types of coolers, is I'll pack it and I'll actually put it in the fridge, and you know, and then in a couple hours later it's ready to go and I just take it out, and then the cooler is cold and the food stays cold, so that's an easy way to do it as well. But what you want to make sure that you do is that you not only pack it, you know, get it cold just right before you're supposed to go, but also you want to pack it carefully. And that means using containers such as these that have tight fitting lids, are really durable, but they're lightweight as well. You can get them anywhere these days, kitchen supply stores, big box stores, even dollar stores as well. So you want to make sure that you pack your food in, really, like, you don't want your dessert seeping into your salads or anything like that as well. So you want to pack them with tight fitting lids, or at least really good storage bags, and keeping them as separate as you can, at least anyways. Now, keeping things separate as well is that not everything has to go into a cooler format. So there's lots of different great coolers out there. I mean, this one actually is perfect. I love this one. It carries big trays and it can do hot or it can do cold, and it's got little pockets for it. I also have the old styrofoam type coolers. I also have, you know, the big solid ones and soft ones as well. So it just depends on what you've got. There's lots of different options and different sizes out there as well. Sometimes I'll pack a bunch of small coolers. It's great because you can get the kids to carry some, get them to do something. But small coolers, because I find actually that the cold stays better in smaller areas. It doesn't have to work and circulate around these big, huge coolers, and you don't need as much ice. But so you want to use the coolers for things that need to stay cold, and then you can use things like the picnic baskets. You know, these ones you see everywhere these days. They're collapsible. They're ideal for things like your plates and your, you know, glassware or plasticware, whatever it is that you're using. They don't need to necessarily go into the cooler, so you want to keep that separate as well. So not great for keeping foods, you know, crackers, things like that, fine, but not for perishables in here. You can also keep things separate in coolers by using these great little bags. This is a wine bag. Maybe you're going to bring some wine on your picnic. The wine bags are a great idea. You know, I put my wine, if it's a white wine or if it's Perrier or whatever it is, I'll put them in the freezer for a little bit so they get that little bit of slushiness, and then I'll pop them in these bags and then put them in the coolers. And it's great they don't, you know, clang against each other as well if you're using glass bottles. The other thing to keep things cold is the ice packs. You can use lots of different types of ice packs these days. You've got little ones, medium-sized ones, big ones. You can also just take a really good storage bag, like a Ziploc bag, and fill it with water and then freeze them the night before, and you can do them in the shapes that you want to, whether it be flat or you try to get them up on an angle. But you know what, I find that that there's so many of these shapes and sizes that you can use those quite well. The other thing that I use for freezies or freezer packs is I'll often take water bottles, or I'll take juice box and or both, and I'll freeze them, and I'll use those as my ice packs. One, you don't have ice sort of melting everywhere and getting everything wet and soggy, which is something that you've got to take care of, which is why I like either doing this or an ice pack that's specifically meant and doesn't leak. And also then later on in your events, you've also got nice cold drinks for later on. So that's a good idea to use as well. The other thing sometimes I'll do is perhaps look in my freezer, and maybe there's something in there that I haven't used for a while and I really have no interest in using. I know we all have something like that in your freezer. These happen to be edamame beans. I love them. I wouldn't necessarily do them, but maybe I've got an old package of peas or something like that. that I'll use and just line the bottom of my cooler, because you know what, in the end they've got freezer burn or whatever it may be, and I'm going to throw it away later. So use that stuff. Great way to clean through your freezer, and also use some freezy packs. So the other thing that I might also do is use some of my food that can be frozen. So for instance, I personally love frozen grapes. I use them as ice cubes in my drinks, but I also just like to eat frozen grapes too. I actually like them when they're about a half an hour outside of the freezer, and they're sort of almost like a freezy pop actually, and the kids love them too. So freezing grapes is a great alternative to keep and putting it around your food and keeping them cold too. So one of the things that's talking about how you keep things cold. The other thing that you want to make sure is the type of foods that you pack as well. You want to make sure that things that don't spoil easily. So I would really suggest not using anything with mayonnaise or raw eggs, which I know for a lot of people that rules out, like Caesar salad and traditional potato salad. But there's so many different options out there with great grain salads like quinoa salad or couscous that hold really well in warm weather, don't require a lot of refrigeration, and can keep uncovered in the sun for up to about an hour, which is about what you want your food out for. No more than an hour, 2 hours max. If it's been exposed to the sun outside and the warmth outside for more than 2 hours, I would suggest throwing it out. You don't want to take any chances by any means. So making sure that the foods that you do pack are simple, most often that you can use with your hands and that you can get at easily. So when you're packing that cooler, the things that need to remain cold the most, like meats and cheeses and things like that, you want to make sure are next to your ice blocks or your freezy packs or whatever you're going to be using. But you also want to keep in mind of how you're going to be eating the food. You don't want to be opening the cooler 18 different times and trying to root through and get the food that's on the bottom and maybe the desserts on the top, but you're not eating that. So keep in mind about packing the cooler as to how you're going to eat that day, and then you only have to open the cooler very quickly to take something out. Speaking of opening the cooler and taking things out, if you don't want to do that, say for instance you're at your own, a backyard barbecue that you're throwing, and you don't want people trooping in and out of the fridge, or you don't want to be opening up the coolers, a great tip that I've used in my own backyards is getting one of those big plastic boxes. You can see them, they're often the gift wrap boxes or the under the bed storage boxes. They're low, flat, and fairly long. Take those outside, fill them with ice, and actually set the bowls of food in there. On top of it, and they can sit out that way for the hour to 2 hours that you need. It stays cold. You might have to replenish some of the ice, but that's very simple and easy to do. You can decorate those boxes with a ribbon or maybe a color of the theme of the party that you're having, or even just keep it plain because it's very clean and simple as well. So that's a great tip for your own backyard barbecue. What other do I want to tell you? Washing your hands, hand sanitizers, wipes. Those are really simple and easy things to pack along on your picnic. There's some great, biodegradable picnic wear out there. There's still some great plastic wear that's quite reusable as well. So take a look and have some fun when you are packing your picnic. And remember, have fun. In Southern Ontario, we only get a couple of months to eat outside if you're, really just like the warm weather. So take advantage of it. Have a great picnic. You can check out my website, which is NadineHughes.com. There are some great picnic recipes on there as well. Again, stay away from the ones that require mayo or raw eggs or anything that's going to spoil easily, and have yourself an absolutely fantastic picnic. Don't forget to send me in a question for July's at NadineHughes@simpatico.ca, and I'll answer your question next month on A Balanced Kitchen. Bye for now.